Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning. Welcome to Everything Cooperative. This is Vernon Oakes. We're glad you're tuning in for us this morning. This show is brought to you by the National Cooperative Bank, whose main purpose is to tell people about the benefits of co-ops. And today we have on the show with us Mr. Tom Bradley. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Vernon. Actually, the last name is Bradford.
Bradford, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure.
You're the co-founder of Irresistible Community Builders and creator of Integral Eco-Village Solutions. So what's an eco-village?
Okay. Well, an eco-village is a way to live in cooperation with your neighbors and in harmony with nature. And we've tweaked that model by combining it with co-housing neighborhoods and intensive urban agriculture and a full complement of renewable energy systems and worker-owned union co-ops.
That's a mouthful, and it sounds like a complex and complicated. Why you do this?
Well, you could say it's complex and complicated, but we really like to think of it as comprehensive, and that's why we use the term integral, because we're taking things that we already know work, that have been proven for a long time. The Mondragon approach to cooperative business has been around successfully for 60 years now with their large conglomerate of co-ops in the Basque region of Spain that accounts for 10% of the economy. The co-housing and eco-village movements have been around for 30 or 40 years now and have proved effective. And so we're just combining things that we already know that work, that maybe haven't all been put together in one place before. And then we're seeing in the process that creates a lot of synergies, a lot of efficiencies. And our goal is to create a market-based, scalable solution to global warming and lots of other seemingly endemic challenges. And the way we plan to accomplish that is by creating a lifestyle opportunity where we can take double-digit carbon footprint Westerners to sub-zero in lots of 150 to 200 and some people overnight.
Again, you say a mouthful, so let me try to break this down for me to understand. Sure, okay. And also the listeners out there.
Yeah.
When you mention global warming, these eco-villages will help this major problem that, 160 presidents and leaders around the world met in Paris this week to talk about.
Right, exactly. Timely, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about eco-villages, and you said that's neighbors working together, comprehensively, cooperatively, working together and working within nature. Okay, and so now that's going to stop this global warming. I got it?
Well, yes. That can be that has to be a major contributing factor. We need to, of course, do everything we can from the top down, and that's why this Paris COP21 is so important, because leadership does matter,
Yes.
But we can play our part at the grassroots level, too. We don't need to wait for the technology. The technology has been there for a long time that makes it possible to live a sub-zero carbon lifestyle right now. We can actually start through the way we build our houses and produce goods and services and transportation and everything. we can actually do that in a way that stops contributing to the problem of adding more CO2 to the atmosphere and actually starts removing it, permanently sequestering carbon by recycling our waste and doing it in a way that short cycles the carbon through getting it right back into production of food, and also permanently sequesters by adding biochar to the soil.
Okay. Tom, from most people that I talk to, you have a lot going on. When I say it's complicated and you say it's comprehensive, complex, you say comprehensive. I say complicated in that you have a lot going on, but I guess when you study what is going on in America right now, what is going on around the world, not just America.
Sure.
In terms of transportation, waste removal, how we live and building our houses and so forth. Okay, it is a lot in our system, and so you're breaking it down. How did this get started? I did a little research, and it seems to have started all around this energy piece. This was a Professor George Ramsey in a 1978 address called Passive Energy Applications for the Built Environment. And I was surprised to see that, and you went there very quickly, that these eco-villages are a way of us living more harmoniously with nature and not using so much carbons.
Right. And the prototype project that we're doing is right in the city of St. Louis. So this is an urban eco-village. And I think this is an important point to make because, over half of the population of the world now lives in cities, in urban areas. By 2050, the projection is 70%. And you talked about the built environment. Something like 2/3 of the buildings that we're going to add a couple billion more people to the planet by 2050, and by then we'll have 70% of people living in the urban areas. So if we're going to address this problem, we have to address how we live in the urban area. And 40% of carbon, CO2, comes from the built environment, either the embedded energy and the materials that we're using to build new buildings, and also the energy that we use to heat and cool and ventilate and everything. The other big piece is transportation and agriculture. And so we're looking at ways to work on all of that. We're looking at creating, right now we're just working on the prototype project, but our plans are to create a whole network of integral eco-villages in the St. Louis region and connect them together with a rapid public transit and freight system that can get us out of our cars. And this system would actually produce more energy. It'd be covered. It's an elevated tube that would be covered with solar collectors. The integral eco-village communities distributed fairly evenly throughout the St. Louis region would double as transit stations, and so this system would produce more energy than it actually consumes.
Wait a minute.
Well, okay. We really have to do. We have to start moving things in the other direction right now. It's great to get the agreements in place in Paris there from the top down, but we need to be working from the bottom up as well.
So, Tom, St. Louis. So when I'm hearing you say an eco-village, I'm really hearing you say more like a subdivision. Is this in the suburbs of the city or right inside the city?
No. This is right in the core city. So this is, we're a couple miles from downtown in the Central West End neighborhood.
So you're taking a block, a building?
We're about half of a city block, so it's quite dense. But the co-housing movement has demonstrated that it's possible to live quite densely. And Chuck Durrett and Kitty McKemmett, the husband and wife architect team that discovered this movement in Denmark in the late 80s and brought it to the U.S., and they're now some something like 135 communities and another 20 or so under construction. So it's really caught on in this country and throughout the Western world.
So before you go any further, though, let's take this community. It's a half a block. How many are they apartments, or are they like you have 5 different buildings or units or around a central kitchen? When you say co-housing, I visited one in Seattle. There were maybe 15 people, and they had 2 kitchens. And so what does this look like? So I want to get a feel for it, and I want to get my listeners to feel.
Sure. So the what we're now calling the Irresistible Integral Eco Village is going to consist of 4 contiguous co-housing neighborhoods. So a typical co-housing neighborhood is 15 to 35 households. So the one that you visited in Seattle would be on the low end of the scale in terms of size.
Tom, I'm going to have to stop you because we have to take our first break. And what I want to do for everybody out there, and Tom, is I want to try to break this down because I still see it as complex and complicated, because that's what I see our system it are. And you're making it comprehensive, starting with housing and then going for the transportation and recycling and technology. So we have a lot to cover in the next 45 minutes, but we have to take our first break, and we'll be right back to continue this conversation. That's exciting to me, Tom. So we'll see if we can break it down and get everybody to understand this eco-village and how it works and operates.
Okay, terrific.
We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
1450 WOL.
Formation is power. That's WOL's motto, and that's one of the reasons they're a great partner for us, because the National Cooperative Bank is sponsoring this program to give you the information so that you can have the power to control your own destiny, the power to reduce the carbon footprint in America or in the world, the power to just have a better quality of life. And so this morning, Tom is talking to us about eco-villages, and he said to us that, by 2050, that's only 35 years from now, that the population of the world is going to go up by 2 billion people. It's about 7.3 billion people now, going up 2 more billion. That's a 28% increase in 35 years. And now we have 50% of the people, 50% of that 7.3 billion people are living in urban lifestyles, and that will go up to 70%, which is a 40% increase. So that you're going to have 28% of the population increase, but more people that are living in rural areas are also going to move to urban areas. And we have to, I don't know who out there does not believe in this climate change, that the world is getting hotter and hotter, and if we're not very careful, the world as we know it will not exist the way it is. We'll have more deserts, more storms, more heat, and that it won't be able to take care of the 7 billion people we have today. So we've got to do something. And now what Tom is telling us, which I'm excited about, is how every person in the world can help this. And this is about how we live, how we choose to live. So, Tom, you've got an eco-village that's starting in St. Louis. You're going from 4 co-housing neighborhoods in a half a city block. And you said that there's anywhere from 15 to 35 households in each of these co-housing neighborhoods. So you can talk about 4 times 15. What's that, 60 households to 140 households. Okay, so let's go back and talk about how these, what does this co-housing look like? How do you build, what does the building look like? If I wanted to join one, what would I, as a single older person, what would I have to do, and what would I end up living in? I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, 680 square feet. I really believe in simplistic living. So and I also believe that we spend way too much in America. Each household, we just buy, consume. So we have to stop that. I've come to that myself. So what would this look like if I wanted to join a co-housing group? What would I end up buying?
Oh, okay, Vernon. Well, sounds like you're a perfect candidate for co-housing. You're already half the way there because you've already downsized. So typical co-housing communities, everyone either owns or rents their own individual living space, which is complete with a kitchen, bathrooms, everything you'd expect in a single-family home, but it's scaled down so that you can also have a common house that you share with your neighbors. And this is more than, and typically it's condominium ownership in the U.S. Some communities are set up as cooperatives and or planned unit developments, but instead of just a condominium clubhouse, the common house is used more extensively and is a more comprehensive approach than just a condominium clubhouse. So meals together with your neighbors on a regular basis is a popular feature. There's usually a central shared laundry facility so that everybody doesn't have to have their own washer and dryer. You know, you talked about cutting down on the consumerism, which is definitely a piece of what we need to do if we're going to create a sustainable planet here. So this movement started in Denmark in the late 60s, and the Danes are really great about studying everything to see how it works, and that includes new building materials, but also social programs. So before the movement ever came to the U.S., they had figured out what works in terms of scale for community, design for communities, so the houses all face each other across pedestrian walkways. The common house is centrally located. The parking is at the periphery, or in an urban setting like ours, it's under the common house, so we have underground parking off that you enter off the alley, so the automobile doesn't get in the way. And there's both a emphasis on preserving privacy, so you have your own individual living space, but then everything beyond that, outside your unit, is a setup for easy social interaction. So you're going to bump into your neighbors on the way to the common house or on the way to the parking or when you're doing your laundry. And there's a lot that happens when people just get together again. You know, I mean, this is the way neighborhoods used to be.
Yep.
That doesn't happen so much anymore. We have to cause it. You know, we have to create it.
So it is a village.
Yeah.
And the eco part of it, economically sound, environmentally sound, socially sound. I mean, so it brings everything together so people really do have a way of interacting.
Right.
Okay. In the common house. I was surprised at everybody because the co-housing I visited in Seattle, they did not have their own kitchen.
Yeah, that may have been more the traditional intentional community or collective house model. It doesn't sound like it was. Co-housing tends to be a little bit larger scale than what you're speaking of.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out if I would like that because you shared kitchens, had your own bathroom, but you shared kitchens, had basically a bedroom, living room, bathroom, and a shared kitchen, shared laundry, similar to what you're saying here.
Now, we are including that in our co-housing eco-village model. We're going to be including in the first two co-housing neighborhoods some cooperatively owned houses, 5 and 6 bedroom. The very first one we're doing is going to be fully accessible, adjacent to the common house and connected with an elevator, so that people that are alternatively abled, have an opportunity to participate in this lifestyle as well.
So when you say 5 or 6 bedrooms, is that one family in 5 or 6 bedrooms or different individuals?
Yeah. So we're combining what you're describing as an additional option. So there would be a cooperatively owned house where people have their own individual bedroom and share 2 or 3 bathrooms and then have their own common area, but they would also have access to the larger common house that they would share and have meals together with their traditional single-family lifestyle neighbors that live in the surrounding 1, 2, and 3 bedroom condos and studios. So we're trying to make this as accommodate as many different lifestyle choices as possible here and levels of income.
Well, I would imagine this would be excellent for seniors because as a senior now, at least that's what they call me. I don't call me that yet, but as a senior.
Well, I'm 69 today, so I guess I'm a senior now.
Happy birthday! I was 68 last month.
Thank you.
I was 68 last month.
Terrific! So we're contemporary.
Yeah,
early baby boomers.
And with the increase that we just talked about of people, the increase of seniors is going to skyrocket. I mean, I don't have the figures right in front of me, but you're going to have people over 65. I don't know, maybe it was doubling by that time, but by 2050 because of the life expectancy and the number of baby boomers and that have been out there. So you're going to have more and more people that are like me, empty nesters. Everybody is gone, and unfortunately, my wife passed away in 2008, so I'm by myself. And it's sort of say, what kind of interaction do you have? How do you get this interaction in a meaningful kind of way? We have to get ready for our second break.
Already?
Wow. Yeah, it goes by real quick time when you having. Let's
talk about senior co-housing when we get back, because that's the fastest growing piece of the movement, and we're including 3 multi-generational and 1 senior co-housing in our prototype here.
We'll talk about the senior co-housing when we get back. We'll be right back after the weather and the traffic and a little bit of news. And we're going to come back and talk more about eco-villages and senior co-housing.
1450 WOL.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes with Everything Cooperative. This morning, we're talking about eco-villages throughout the world, particularly in St. Louis. You know, the National Cooperative Bank sponsors this program, and its mission is to help cooperatives grow by supporting and being an advocate for America's cooperatives and their communities, placing special emphasis on serving the needs of communities that are economically challenged. And these economically challenging communities, and for NCB to meet their mission is a challenge for them because most banks will only want to put money in those communities where people already have assets, because they're bankers, is what I learned in the MBA program, are looking for only 3 things. They're wanting to get their money back, they're wanting to get their money back, and they're wanting to get their money back. So one way of doing that is making loans to people that have assets, so that the loan isn't paid back, then they can go grab these assets and get their money back. So NCB has a challenge to make loans to people that don't have assets. And a lot of that with these co-ops is through training. That's the 5th principle of cooperatives, is training, so that people can get the training they need so they can have a successful business or have a successful housing, have a successful food co-op, or perhaps in the example we're talking about today, co-housing or eco-villages. They get the training they need, and they work with other people that have already done it so that they will know how to solve the problems perhaps before they even happen. So, Tom, thanks for being with us today and talking about eco-villages. You have said that you want to talk about senior co-ops or co-housing. Tell us about what that looks like for you.
Okay, well, let's just cover that quickly and then get right into this co-op and worker-owned co-op, especially. I think that's what's going to really excite the bankers. So senior co-housing, the movement initially was primarily multi-generational, and of course, a lot of those multi-generational co-housing communities have aged and have a higher percentage of seniors, but also there's not enough multi-generational co-housing projects forming fast enough accommodate all the seniors. So the latest movement out of Denmark is for senior co-housing. 3 out of 4 new co-housing communities in Denmark, and 10% of the new Danish housing now is co-housing, is for seniors. And so we're going to provide both options. So we'll have a senior co-housing community, and we're going to have 3 multi-generational co-housing communities. So there's 2 options for seniors, And Chuck Durrett went back, that started with Catherine McCammett, that started the movement in the U.S., brought it here from Denmark, went back and studied the senior movement, and he says he hasn't run across any group of people anywhere that are having more fun than people that are living in senior co-housing. They just get up in the morning and around coffee decide what they're going to do for the day, and he says they're just having so much fun, So,
Tom, my mother didn't give me a middle name, but I've got one. That's Vernon Fun Oaks. So fun, I like.
All right.
Okay. So seniors in co-housing have the most fun?
Well, that's what Chuck says, and he's kind of the authority. He and his wife, Catherine McCammett, have been involved in 30 or more, probably 40 by now, of the co-housing communities that are up and running in the U.S. And they worked with us on getting our project going in St. Louis. Can we jump into this?
I really want to get to one question. Is there a list of these senior co-housings, or a list of co-housings that could be, if somebody out there said, look, this is not a way I would like to live, that they could find out where?
Yeah, if you just Google co-housing U.S., there's a national association. My wife Carol was on the board for 6 years and president for a year and a half, and they do a listserv. That's the place to go to find out about co-housing.
Okay. So we want to go into worker co-ops, which we've had a couple people on in the last 2 programs talking about that, particularly the Mondragon example.
Right.
So, let's talk.
Yeah, so you've probably talked about the worker-owned union co-op movement that Mondragon and the National Co-op Bank and some other banks and foundations and stuff have been involved in. So our project is going to be the 15th worker-owned union co-op initiative in St. Louis. So we're creating a network of cooperatively owned businesses to build out the prototype Integral Eco-Village project, and then to go on and build out the whole network in the region. And you'd talked about the banks being most concerned with, how do I get paid back? How do I get paid back? How do I get paid back? The best way that I know of to have affordable housing for workers is to pay them a living wage and guarantee them employment for a lifetime by having them be part of a network of cooperatively owned businesses, and then they can afford to live in the housing they're building.
Yep.
And so that's kind of our approach in a nutshell. So we're creating a co-op. We're building with this system we call RIBS, which is rapid building system and a panelized system. And so we're creating a manufacturing co-op to manufacture that product, and we'll have another co-op of folks that build with that, and then we've got RIMS, which is our renewable energy systems installation management co-op that takes care of both both the renewable energy, the water capture, the waste treatment, and then RIPE, our intensive urban agriculture co-op, and all those are tied together. We'll have other co-ops that operate permanently from the site. We're going to have a restaurant, a microbrewery, arts and crafts mall that's daytime use for two of our underground parking structures. And all of our common houses are going to have daytime uses, preschool, K-3 charter school, and business incubator, and a whole variety of things.
You know, I still say it's complex and complicated, and you say it's comprehensive. I like your word comprehensive. The complex and complicated is that you're looking at every aspect of life and saying, how can we create a village where the living is culturally and socially beneficial, where people have fun and it is, I assume, safe. Now you're creating businesses just based on the needs of the people in the eco-village and the surrounding people. To build these eco-villages, to create the systems inside of them, to create businesses, worker cooperatives that will manage all of these systems inside of it. And then you go to restaurants and microbrewery and arts and crafts. And then you got to deal with the kids. So you get different schools, daycare, after school care, K through 12. Might as well put a community college in there somewhere that talks about building co-ops and managing them. Okay. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Well, we've worked closely with universities, and we have talked to St. Louis University, the new president of St. Louis University, about they have a facility that's just we're right between their Manresa Center, which is a retreat center, and their main campus. And so we've talked about creating that as a training center for integral eco-village living, so people could come for a week and experience what it would be like. So I think that's definitely part of what needs to happen, because it's kind of back to the future, because we're going back to how neighborhoods used to function, neighbors looking out for each other, money circulating within the immediate neighborhood, so you get more bang for the buck. And so one of the things that we're noticing already would just, as we add these things together and make things integral and comprehensive rather than segmented and siloed, the way we've gotten to, that all of these synergies show up. So this whole idea of having a compatible daytime use for the common house, and then when the residential owners want to use that in the evening, one of the critical things with shared use is the last use going to leave it in condition for that the next use needs. So we're going to have a green cleaning service that comes in between all those shared uses. This creates more jobs, but it also alleviates potential for upset.
Big time upset.
Yeah.
The last people left it dirty. They didn't put the chairs back right. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I know.
But then that sequential and what we're calling sequential and simultaneous shared use. So that's one of the inventions that comes out of this innovation of putting together things that we already know work. Is that now you've cut your capital cost for a co-housing common house and a daytime use of like a preschool in half. And so you have much more efficient use of resources, and things become more and more affordable. If you're producing your energy on site from the sunlight that just falls on the roof and the ambient heat of the earth under the site, with a ground source heat pump system, and reutilizing your waste and the water that falls on the site, capturing that and using it and reusing it. We did a lot of precipitation in St. Louis, 39 inches a year. So we're creating businesses that are water intensive, like aquaculture in combination with green roofs and green walls that are actually produce food, and hanging gardens under architectural PV canopy that lets enough light through to still grow food, but also captures 750 kilowatts of electricity.
So the information you're giving us is fantastic and fascinating, and it's just got my mind going between all of the different kinds of things that you're doing, growing food in the houses and so forth. And we only have one segment to go. We have to take our last break, and then we're going to come back. And one of the things I want to talk about, Tom, is how people can get involved with this, or if you're looking for monies to help build it or anything like that. We haven't talked about that, but I'd like to know what you need, what your needs are, and see if we can let people know about it, and also get people involved so that if they're wanting this lifestyle, they can do it. But we'll take our break, and then we'll be right back. Don't touch the dial, please.
All right. Terrific. Thanks.
1450 WOL.
Information is power. But I got to tell you, one of our first persons on the show, Papa Sin from Senegal, said that it's not the information that gives you the power. It is taking that information and putting action to it, putting energy to it, and that's where you get your power. For me, I think of dynamite, sticks of dynamite. It's got a lot of power in there, but if you don't strike a match and light it, you get no power. Matter of fact, it'll just decay and go away. And there can be good uses, construction for dynamite, but it's any energy, any knowledge that you might have, you can get power if you go to put some energy to it. So we're talking about some powerful stuff this morning. Tom Bradford from St. Louis is talking to us about co-villages. And Tom, what I've got, when I've looked at your videos and stuff, I couldn't get a sense of what you were doing. So I just want to give you this feedback, because in a minute or two, you would tell a whole lot. It'd be a compact information, and I could never get a sense of what it really is that you're doing. So what I knew coming into this program is I would try to break it down so I could be clear on what you're doing, and the persons out there listening could be clear. And what I've gotten in one sentence is you've looked at every aspect of living collectively and breaking it down to where we can live better together, and it takes a lot less energy. Matter of fact, the things that you've learned, you can put energy back in the system so that you don't use it, but you contribute so that not only does the carbon footprint is less, you're helping with solar power and getting energy from the earth, that you're providing energy to other people, not only taking care of the energy that you need. And if you can get the cars out of the mix and get this tube that you're talking about, the downtown or inner city, it's even less and less energy that you're using. Is that pretty much what you're doing?
Yes. So my promise for the world is that by 2020, human being is secure as a perpetual species on our way to being ubiquitous in the far-flung universe. You talked about these bumps in the road that we've got with global warming and peak everything and social fragmentation. We got to get to work on all that stuff right now, and it's a huge opportunity. Actually, within just a couple decades here, we could usher in an age of plenty like the planet has never known. We just need to get our act together. And so you can Google Integral Eco-Village Solutions. Our website is down right now, but we're in the process of getting it back up, and you'll be able to reach it at that same thing if you go to Integral Eco-Village Solution. That's what we're going to recreate our website as. So
I did go online and I looked up. I just put in co-housing U.S. and it said co-housing USA, and then it gave me a option to go co-housing finding, and it took me to co-housing, cohousing.org /finding.
That's the one to really use, cohousing.org, to find out about co-housing. This is kind of the next level of that. The co-housing and eco-village movements both started in Denmark, like I said, 35, 40 years ago, and have been moving along on parallel paths, and they're starting to merge. So you're starting to see more and more co-housing communities that are a little larger and identifying as eco-villages, and eco-villages that are starting to use co-housing as a building block where they combine 2 or 3 or 4 co-housing neighborhoods like we're doing. But we're taking it a little bit further, I think, by the big, really additional piece that I think is really critical is creating these worker-owned co-ops. And so people can contact us. They can. Is it all right to just give my phone number?
Absolutely.
And email?
Yes.
So you can contact me, Tom Bradford, at 314-479-6750, or just email me at Bradford, BRAFORDT, @gmail.com. And you're all welcome to move to St. Louis and join our Integral Eco Village prototype. We're looking for some pioneers to do that. We're looking for people that would love to be part of a cooperatively owned business. This is a real opportunity. And, if you're really happy in the community that you live in, we're starting this in St. Louis because that's where we're at. But our idea is to cause an epidemic of sustainability here in St. Louis with this network of integral eco-villages and just have this movement go pandemic in the world. So,
Tom, we have Pat on the line. Pat, you have a comment or question?
Yes. Thank you for the show, Mr. Oakes, and thank you for what you're doing with your Integral Eco Village. Tom, I have one question. The question is, wherever we are in the country, what can an individual do, maybe a church, maybe a cooperative, what can we do to move one step closer to creating a more sustainable eco-village type community?
Well, I would say any kind of cooperative action that you can take. If you can move a step beyond thinking about what you need to do individually or as a nuclear family, if you can join together with your neighbors or in your church community, anything that you can do to start bringing us together.
I guess, Tom, my question is to give people an example. If you can give us one quick example, I want people to understand, because I'm actually on that journey and I want one example of something I can do. Is there one specific example?
Well, of course, there are thousands of examples of things that we can do individually. We can change our light bulbs, to more efficient light bulbs. We can put solar collectors on our house. We can get a hybrid vehicle. We can use public transit. But the thing to really make the kind of change that's required to create a sustainable planet for our children and grandchildren, it requires that we get beyond those individual actions and that we start to work together as communities, extended families, extended communities.
Oh.
And so that's why I picked that particular action as what I see as the most critical one.
Thank you, Pat. And what I was thinking about, and I was going to ask you, Tom, is I live in a 57-unit housing cooperative that was an apartment building here in the district. And I have talked to I had talked to the board about the possibility of us tearing down the 4 buildings that we have and putting up maybe 150 units because there's a lot of wasted space, or not wasted as much as it could be used in a different way. But what you got me thinking about is really going through and doing the research and seeing if we could take it and make it an eco-village out of it using panels, solar panels, which I did bring to them some ideas of using solar panels with the laws in the district. There's no money that had to be put in. And then I had not looked at using the Earth core energies. But I'm going to study this some more. We'll be talking to you. If anybody would have any questions of Tom, you can call him at 314-479-6750, or you can email him at Bradford T, as in Tom, Bradford, BRAFORDT @gmail.com. And Tom, I'm going to be emailing you and talking to you and maybe come out there and visit you in St. Louis because I'd like to see if we could get something started here in D.C. and perhaps at the co-op that I live in right now. You got any other comments or thoughts that you want to tell us? We only have another minute or so left.
Yeah. Well, I think you're on the right track there. A big part of our project is adaptive reuse. Part of getting a handle on our carbon footprint is to reuse what we have, because there's a lot of embedded energy in those buildings that you have, and if you tear that down, that's going to take a lot of energy and a lot of energy for new. And so we always want to look at reutilizing what we already have as the first step.
Okay.
And there's no reason that we can't convert existing neighborhoods, a lot of existing buildings and structures. And Carol and I, we've present at conferences all over the place. We're happy to go do that. We're happy to be consultants to individual groups. The woman that called in and talked about her church group, we're happy to work with people that want to create an integral eco-village right where they live.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next Thursday. Tom, thank you for the work that you're doing and for the knowledge you've given us today. We can take this knowledge and have power. Everybody have a great day.
Right.
1450 WOL.